Hello guys, welcome to Ashutosh Coaching Center. Now today we are going to start the chapter name is atom. Introduction देखते हैं. Atoms are the basic building blocks of matter and they consist of the nucleus which contain the positively charged protons and the neutral neurons, okay, neutrons, and surrounded by the negatively charged electron. The number of atom proton is the nucleus determine the number of elements and thus is the identity, and the electron occupy the energy level of the orbital, and that determine the chemical and the physical properties of the element. The atoms can be combined to a form of nucleus and which make up all the substances in the world. थॉमसन मॉडल क्या होता है? According to Thomson, an atom consists of positively charged matter and into the with a negatively charged particles and are embedded randomly. But this model didn't last long, as it could not be explained observation of the Rutherford particles and scattering experiment. Alpha particle scattering. The alpha particle scattering experiment was formed by the Ernst Rutherford and in 1911, and the result of the lead to the development of his nuclear model of atom. And in this experiment, Rutherford fired alpha particles and at the gold foil and observed they scattered and in the different direction, and he expected the alpha particles and the to passes through the foil unaffected, as the Thomson model of the atom predicted that the positive charge was uniformly distributed and through the atoms. However, he found that some particles were deflected at a large angles, indicating the positive charge as the concentration is a small central inertia. Based on these observation, Rutherford proposed a new model of the atom in which positive charge is concentrated and in a tiny central nucleus surrounded by electrons orbit and much like planets in a solar system. This model explained by the stability of atom than the result of the alpha particle and scattering experiment and much better than the Thomson model. उसका क्या है रदरफोर्ड्स न्यूक्लियर मॉडल क्या होता है इन 1912 and the others proposed his experiment nuclear and the model of atoms. It is also known as the Rutherford planetary model of the atoms, and a salient feature of the Rutherford atom and the model are as follows. Every atom consists of a tiny central core and the named nucleus, and in which entire the positively charged and the almost whole mass of atoms are concentrated, and the size of nucleus is typically 10 inverse 4 times and the size of an atoms. The most of atoms is empty space, and in free space around the nucleus, and electrons bounded by the moving orbit, and just as a planet do around the sun, and the centripetal force needed for the orbital motion and of motion is provided by the electrostatic attractive and the force experienced by the electrons due to the positively charged nucleus. And atoms as a whole is electrically natural neutrals, and thus the positively charge of nucleus is exactly equal to the total negative charge of all electrons orbiting the atoms. Alpha particle trajectory क्या होता है? Alpha particle trajectory refers to the path and that alpha particles helium nucleus and the follows as a result emitted from an atoms and travels through a spaces. Alpha particles trajectory was performed by the Ernst for Rutherford and in the alpha particle scatter experiment. In this experiment, alpha aimed an alpha particles at the thin sheet of the gold foil and observed how the particles were deflected, and based on the result of this experiment, Rutherford was able to develop and his nuclear model of the atom. The alpha particles trajectory provided to an evidence on for the existence of the nucleus and helped to establish and the structure of the atom. Atomic spectra. The atomic spectra refers to the light emitted by the atoms and which they are extracted and or the ionized. The light can be observed as a series of the spectral lines and which are the unique element which are unique in each element, and these spectral lines of an element provided a important information about the energy level of electrons in the atoms can be used to identify the element. Spectral series क्या होता है? Spectral series are group of spectral lines and that are produced by the transitional of electrons between the energy level in an atoms. There are the several type of energy spectral lines, spectral series, and each and with each with a distinct pattern spectral lines. The most well known specific series are the hydrogen spectral series, and which include the Balmer series and others. The formula of Balmer series of hydrogen is given by the 1 by pi and r is equal to 1 by 2 squared minus 1 by r n square, where लेमडा जो है यहाँ पे वेवलेंथ है, आर जो है राइजनबर्ग कांस्टेंट है, और एन जो है इंटीग्रल वैल्यू है, जिसको 3 से 4 बार कुछ भी हो सकता है, और जो आर जो है इसका वैल्यू मतलब वैल्यू है इसका मैक्सिमम 1.097 × 10⁻⁻⁰ पर मीटर परमिट हो सकता है। स्पेक्ट्रल सीरीज क्या होता है? द बोर्ड्स मॉडल ऑफ द हाइड्रोजन एटम इज अ मॉडल ऑफ हाइड्रोजन एटम एंड वाज proposed by the Niels Bohr in 1919, and it combines the classical mechanics and the Newtons and the early quantum theory of Planck's and the Einstein explains to the stability of hydrogen atom। फर्स्ट जो होता है थ्री जब दिया गया था बोर्ड्स मॉडल। अब देखो पोस्ट उसमें पॉस्टुलेशन देखो, उसका पॉस्टुलेशन फर्स्ट पहला क्या है इसका रूल फर्स्ट जो है, एन electrons is a atom could have revolved in a certain stable orbit and without emitting radiant energy. Each atom has certain definite stable orbit, and electrons can all exist in the orbit, and each possible orbit has definite total energy, and these stable orbit are called stationary states of the atoms। Postulate second क्या, electrons revolves around a nucleus and the atoms is only the stable orbit and the angular momentum integral multiple of h by 2 pi, and where h is Planck's constant and therefore angular momentum L and of the orbiting electrons is quantized momentum यानी pb mbr is equal to ns by 2 pi। postulate second third क्या कहता है, and electrons can make a transitional from the stable orbit to the another or lower orbit, and where doing so photon emitted and whose energy is equal to the uh, energy difference between the initial and the final stage। Therefore the energy photon is given by h nu is equal to e1 minus e2, यानी कि if e initially minus e final, if initial जो एनर्जी इनिशियल एंड इनिशियल फाइनल है, ठीक है ना। उसका क्या एनर्जी लेवल क्या होता है देखो, ground state and the excited state। The lowest energy of the an atom is called ground state, and the higher energy level is called excited state। The H atom has a lowest energy in the state of for the principal quantum number is equal to n, and all states I n is equal to 2 3 4 and 3 2 3 4 and is equal to excited state। Thus E23 and E2 and E3 is called first, ठीक है, and the second and the third excited state respectively। Ionization energy and the ionization potential। The minimum energy needed to the ionize an atom is called ionization energy, and the potential difference through which an electron should be accelerated to acquire this much energy is called ionization potential। Hence the ionization energy of H minus atom in the ground state and 3.6 electrovolt, and the ionization potential is 13.6 volt। The binding energy क्या होता है? Binding energy is a form of system and it is defined as the minimum energy of the needed to the separate constituent and over a large distance, and this may be also defined as the energy and release with a constituent and are the branch from the infinity to the form energy system, and the binding of H atom and in the ground state and 30.6 electrovolt, and which is the name as same as the ionization energy। excited energy क्या होता है? excited energy is the excitation potential and the energy is needed to the take an atom to form ground state and to excited state, and in called excitation ground state energy of the excited state। Okay, the potential through which an electrons should be accelerated the acquired the energy, this energy is called excitation potential। okay, अब line spectral of the hydrogen atoms क्या होता है देखो, यहाँ से the spectral lines of the hydrogen atoms refers to the spectral lines and that are the observed when light emitted and or the absorbed by a hydrogen atom। These spectral lines are produced by the transitional and the between the energy level of the inner electrons in the hydrogen atom. In Bohr's model, the electrons in a hydrogen atom can occupy the only the certain specified energy level, and the transitional between the level result in the emission and the absorption of light, and the energy level of are quantized, and the meaning that the energy level of electrons is restricted to certain discrete value. उसके आगे when an electron makes a transitional from the higher energy to the lower energy level, and it releases a proton light and the high specific frequency, and which correspond to a specific wavelength, and the spectral lines observed in the line spectra of the hydrogen are result this energy transitional, and the specific lines observed depend on the transitional between the energy level involved. Last, a de Broglie explanation of Bohr's second postulate. De Broglie explanation of the Bohr's secondary postulate build upon the idea that the matter and the like light both wave-like and the particles-like property. In his theory, de Broglie exposed that the particles such as electron and are associated with a wave like phenomena and called the wave matters, okay, matter waves. And according to de Broglie, the waves associated with an electrons in an atom have a specific wavelength, and which is related to the particles momentum and energy. The wavelength determine the possible orbits and the and that electrons under occupying, and the energy level of this orbit are quantized. De Broglie explanation of the postulate um, provides a more fundamental and the general framework for understanding the behavior of electrons in an atom. According to de Broglie, an electrons moving in nth circular orbit of the radius r, and 2 pi r is equal to lambda, and where n is equal to 1 to 3, and circumference of the orbit should be integral multiple de Broglie wavelength of inner electrons and the moving in the nth orbit, okay, nth orbit मतलब circular orbit पे, okay. As we know that the de Broglie wavelength is equal to h is equal to l nu by momentum, ये कह सकते हो mb. 2 pi r nh pi is equal to mb, या फिर mb r is equal to nh by 2 pi. ये सारा हमारा फाइनल इक्वेशन था. So guys, thanks for watching till the end, and you are a part of journey of neat. So don't forget to subscribe about it, and bye bye and see you in next video.